And we'll stay with this particular story and speak to our U.S. correspondent who has been following closely the developments on this particular story, Sherwin Bryce Pease. Sherwin, thank you so much for your time. I mean, it's been a few weeks of political drama in the United States. You think about, firstly, the disastrous debate by President Biden that consumed the political class for days on end. Then the assassination attempt that now shifted the conversation completely, and now, of course, going straight into the Republican National Convention, begging the questions what this week possibly might hold for us.
Bonge, we're all spinning as journalists, right? We're jumping from one issue to the other. It's one drama after the next, and we've got 3.5 months until the election day. So who knows what exactly might happen in those 3 months, given the dramatic circumstances that we are all grappling with today. The big focus is, of course, the beginning of the Republican National Convention. It's a 4-day climax to Thursday, when Donald Trump will have his coronation, if you will. He will accept formally the nomination of the Republican Party to stand in the presidential election as their candidate, likely, of course, to face the incumbent President Joe Biden. But the big news we are all waiting for from the Trump campaign, from the Republican presumptive nominee, is who is going to be his running mate, who is going to be the vice president on the Republican ticket. And I can tell you there are 4 names that have been making the rounds over the last number of weeks. I'll read them out to you. Marco Rubio is a senator from Florida, a Republican senator, and a former Republican candidate for president, of course, beaten in 2016 by the very Donald Trump he seeks to run alongside in this election. J.D. Vance is a first-term senator from the state of Ohio. Tim Scott is the only black United States senator within the Republican caucus in the Senate, a senator from South Carolina. And then Governor Doug Burgum. Governor Doug Burgum also ran for a very short period in the primaries of the Republican convention, this time around defeated, of course, by Donald Trump. He is the outgoing governor of North Dakota. So this has been a very closely held secret by Donald Trump, maximizing the leverage and the media attention that this announcement might have attracted. But I think given the developments over the last 2 days, the failed assassination attempt, the focus is very much on Donald Trump, no matter what he does over the next few days.
And Sherwin, I mean, in light of all of that, speak to us about the mood in the United States currently, especially after the dramatic events over the weekend. I mean, amid calls for investigation, security reviews, among others, but also this call for unity that we've now heard from both Trump as well as Biden. Will that unity likely maybe shape the election campaign over the next 3 months?
It remains to be seen. It remains to be seen how long this tenor, this kind of approach will last, given the drama that has just unfolded. You heard the president speaking in primetime address in the Oval Office, urging Americans to lower the political rhetoric. He called for a cooling. He talked about how differences needed to be settled at the ballot box. You saw former President Trump echoing that in social media posts, calling on Americans to unite. But let's not forget that these are 2 very divergent parties with very different ideologies and perspectives for what they want to see happen in the United States. President Biden, in that Oval Office address last night, talked about how the implications, the outcome of this election will shape America and the world's future for decades to come. So the stakes here are very, very high. So the question is, how long does this unity last? What's the next big crisis that will emerge? What will the investigation by the Secret Service, by the FBI that is investigating what happened on Saturday, how long will those investigations play themselves out? How quickly will the director of the Secret Service be hauled before the Oversight Committee in the House of Representatives? And what will that sort of engagement look like? Will politicians on the right seek to be scoring points by looking at some of the inadequacies that led to the sniper having a direct line at the president, hitting him in the ear, coming very close to killing the presumptive nominee of the Republican Party? So, you know, the tenor will be shaped about how this investigation, how this process unfolds. But the President of the United States, Joe Biden, also indicating that his policies at the Republican National Convention are probably going to be castigated. And likewise, as he returns to the campaign trail this week, he too will be putting out his policy positions that are antithetical to what the GOP and the Republican Party want. So how that all plays out remains to be seen. What will the tenor be? My summation is, given the history of division we have seen in this country over the last number of years, it's going to be very difficult for both parties to remain on message in terms of unity and kumbaya.
So, Sherwin, in light of that, then, what's the latest on the investigations, especially into the assassination attempt? Are we getting closer to a motive and knowing more about the suspect who was neutralized by the Secret Service?
Yeah, I refer constantly to what President Biden said in his Oval Office address. He implored Americans not to come to their own conclusions, not to attribute affiliations to the suspected assassin here, and to let the FBI lead this investigation. He's also appointed an independent review of the security apparatus, the setup around the rally in Butler, Pennsylvania, where that assassin came very close to taking down the former president. So, let that process play out. But certainly a number of unknowns here in terms of what the motive might have been. This was a 20-year-old Thomas Matthew Crooks. For all intents and purposes, his classmates talk about him being a very respectable, decent human being, a very quiet person who was bullied regularly by his peers. His boss at a nursing home that he worked at as a dietary nutrition a person said that he had a clear background check. So there's no manifesto about his political aspirations or his political desires. So we don't know much about the political thinking behind why this individual would have gone to such great lengths, right? To crawl onto a building about 120 to 150 meters away from outside the perimeter of the Secret Service where the rally was, and position himself on a rooftop and line himself up to take out the president, and then, of course, being neutralized by a sniper from the Secret Service. So a lot of unknowns here. The investigation is ongoing. As we say, there is an FBI investigation. There will be congressional investigations. Where we go from here remains to be seen.
One thing's for certain, it sets the tone for Trump's address at that particular convention. But thank you so much, Sherwin, for bringing us up to speed with what's taking place, particularly when it comes to that particular investigation there. That's my colleague, SABC News correspondent, Sherwin Bryce Pease.